Yes, indeed, Fambulem. I bring you the warmest of greetings from the TNN TV podcast. Today, na the first day of March 2026. The time on my side is 10:55, and we are 53 minutes late. Obviously, we get some technical issues in the background, but it's better that we come up with a program than cancel them. So I was behind the scene trying to make things happen. That this broadcast on this first day of March, go ahead as planned. So my apologies. There are many things to discuss. But today I would like to focus on the All People's Congress, the lower level elections, which was recently held. Very significant indeed, and a very short broadcast, hopefully about 30 minutes. And I want to talk about the significance of that event day. Though people, but of course, both inside and outside of the party, those for the party and outside of the party, offer some scathing criticism. Criticism, in a sense, is not a bad thing by itself. It's the way it is delivered, it's the intention behind it, because I can criticize somebody positively so that they are aware of their shortcomings, but within the same vein, they are able to use those criticisms to then value for upgrade themselves, realizing what the errors are, the judgment, whatever they make. So now, in this vein, that I want to talk about the broader significance, of the lower level elections held by the APC quite recently. So we all know that the elections were marred in some cases by violence, which was immediately interpreted by a lot of people who are against the opposition or who would like to see such a thing within the opposition not go unchecked in a negative way. So the criticism been very, it been very intense, it been very negative. But what we should draw from this is the foundation of any political party in legitimacy is based on elections that they conduct. Elections is a good thing because you bring people or have people come out and exercise their rights, their voting rights. So which means that you put a ballot box down, you have people who are supposed to vote. It's a process, not just every Jack and Harry. And this is where sometimes the problem comes from. It is a fine process where people come and exercise their rights, who are supposed to come and exercise their rights as designed by the party or the exercise itself, waiting at the aims and aspirations of the exercise. Who are those waiting at the requirement where the one them where they come for participate are required to do or have, such as a party membership card, which is very important. So the process in itself determines who controls the grassroots. That's about the lower level elections. And that's how serious this is. And waiting may come very, very significant. It determines who controls the leadership of the grassroots and who shapes the party's message and who ultimately influences the selection of national leaders. So for the APC, Sierra Leone's main opposition party, these elections are not just administrative exercise, but rather strategic, symbolic, and deeply, deeply political. And I say this because it's obvious that in the pursuit or when this exercise is being carried out, what you do see, especially within a political scene, such as the elections, the lower level elections, based on what I just don't, put out there, what I just don't say about how it formed the legitimacy of the political party. And this exercise in itself determine the grassroots, who controls the grassroots, who determines or influences the selection of national leaders. So you see now the hierarchy dandy. So it begins with the lower level elections. I hope we understand that then at this point. But the exercise, I must repeat, It's not just an administrative process that the party carries out, but also one that is very strategic, and deeply political and very, very symbolic. Now, let's look at the pros of the All People's Congress lower level elections. I will posit to you, listeners, viewers, that despite, and we must admit, that there were very ugly scenes that was just sore to look at. It was a complete eyesore, the behavior of certain members of the organization. But I don't want to restrict my criticism to the people who misbehave on the day, the members who misbehave on the day. And remember, not all of them were members, not all of them were party carrying people. No, not at all. There were others who were just there just to create a scene. Yeah, I think the parties investigated that. But truly enough, there were members who were aggrieved, and for good reasons. Because once you are organizing such events, you have to ensure that all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, and there is little room for people to find an excuse to resort to behavior which can only be described or defined as thuggish behavior. But you don't provide the oxygen to fan the flame, either by coincidence, by accident, or intentional. But despite these shortcomings, this misbehavior of party members and other antagonists who were there to cause trouble, the voting went on anyway. But for many awards, it was peaceful, very peaceful. The turnout was great. In fact, which was a huge message that we are ready for political change in our party and subsequently in the country. So the positives that we will draw from this exercise is it demonstrated organizational capacity and a sense of professionalism, not 100%, because what led to the misbehavior of some antagonists and party carrying members was because the process itself had some doubts. There were reports of ballots being stuffed. Ballot exercises were not carried out as was intended by the party or designed by the party. So definitely there were shortcomings. But the idea that with all of what is ongoing, the party was able to organize in such a fashion, in such a level, all throughout the country, is in itself a move that should be applauded. So despite internal tensions and delays, finally, the party was able to successfully conduct the elections across all the 17 districts of the country. It deployed trained officials and materials nationwide. What this reflects is a very capable party, or a party which is capable of mobilizing its structures and maintaining operational guidance and coherence. So these are the pros that the All People's Congress should take, party members of the All People's Congress should take from what happened during these lower level elections. Now let's look at the cons. I think I was way ahead of myself, but obviously let's take a look at the cons, okay? I'm sure the pros must have synced in, hasn't it? If it's not, I don't mind repeating myself. But I would also like to make an announcement just before I go to the cons that next week I will be touching on both the Guinean situation. Yes, the Guinean situation. We all know by now what happened between Sierra Leonean armed forces and that of Guinea, where the Guineans, in a blatant, aggressive act of aggression against an independent democratic state, invaded our territory, captured our soldiers, and humiliated not only them, but of course the country that they serve. It is well known that for a good part of the decade, if not beyond, that the Guineans have resorted to attacking our country by taking land, which they say is contested. That's why I hear in some quarters, but I don't think this is contested land. It is our land. But since the very first time they did, they've been making inroads into the country, and God alone knows where they will stop. To come into our land when we are not in a situation of war and capture our soldiers and police, in effect, law enforcement officers, and take them into whatever custody is in itself uncalled for. What baffles me is the government of the country, led by retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, haven't made a laudable effort that will be all and clear to Sierra Leoneans that something is being done to tell the Guineans to desist from such practice, or at least the international community, one of them which is chair of or for, which is the ECOWAS. I haven't heard the case being made, and it continues to baffle me as to why. In such cases of aggression, you will go to the United Nations and make a case. You can call for a session of the Security Council, because this is what they're there for. An emergency summit or conference need to be held on the basis of a complaint lodged by Sierra Leone against Guinea for acts of aggression. So that will be coming. What also will be coming, and I'll be having a guest, I think it will be a panel, is the appointment of the election commissioner, Edmond, Mr. Edmond. We know the circumstances are dubious, and this is very, very serious. It's an abuse of constitutional authority. The process calls for something different in which there's supposed to be participation. The president is supposed to inform the nation, parliamentarians, as to who is nominated, and let the parliamentarians do their work. And the person that's been nominated should meet a certain criteria. If they don't, then obviously it creates tension in the country, which of course has happened. And under some dubious means, he's been confirmed by Parliament. We don't know what's going to happen next, what the opposition parties are going to do. Of course, they intimated few things, such as a boycott. Well, boycott what? Is that what the government is looking for? Is this the game plan? Because they done it before, and they were called back into it. They signed an agreement, a unity agreement, and then subsequently a tripartite agreement, just to keep government functioning and general participation, exercising democratic rights. Or it seems like something is fundamentally wrong somewhere, and some rectification of some sort will have to be done one way or the other. So yes, we will be discussing the pros and cons of this appointment and what's going to subsequently happen with a panel. But I'm talking today about the APC and the recently held lower level elections and the significance of the democratic process and why APC should be lauded, because all 17 of the districts of the country, they were able to carry out these lower level elections, which in itself was a statement of intent. And I was also talking about the pros that we could take, that possibly could have been taken from the elections. And let's talk about the cons, okay? You will notice that I talked about both the pros and the cons in a mixed fashion. Of course, that's how I like to deliver. And now, formally, we know that allegations of irregularities were made. Some of them we saw with our own eyes. I definitely saw some of it because videos were sent to me, and videos don't lie. So I saw it. So some senior members publicly called for the cancellation of the elections, citing deeply troubling irregularities. The most controversial issue was the use of voter slips, which featured animals and symbols, or as symbols instead of candidates' names or photographs, which is the traditional way we know that these voting slips contain. The faces of those that are participating or who are standing for these elections. And I am still lost as to why potentially the faces of animals, or symbolically, animals were used instead of candidate names or photographs. This raised concerns about transparency and potential manipulation. And you won't fault people for thinking as such, would you? No, I don't think you will. That should not have been in the first place, but it was, and people did pick that out and complain. But here's the thing. They concluded APC lower level elections, we must say, was a step in the right direction, and it can be defined or described as a party's democratic journey. This exercise in itself showcased, as I said at the top of this program, organizational strength and grassroots vitality. We saw how energized the youths were. I mean, in some quarters, because obviously I am informed from all sides, I do get notifications, I do get notes, I do get questions and opinions and views of all kinds, all shades sent to me. So this exercise in itself, the fervor, the energy demonstrated by largely youthful people, remember the population is largely youthful, it just shows how much of an intention that these youths have come the 2028 elections, to which we are hearing others are trying to manipulate. Not sure whether it's going to work this time, because the last time it was totally uncalled for, but it did happen. There's a saying that you can forgive, but you don't forget. You don't forget because if you forget, that's when it costs you more than it's supposed to. So the energy demonstrated by this largely youthful population and members of the All People's Congress was some form of warning of what is to come, that the democratic right will not be violated, that this journey that has started, remember, with the first step, which is the lower level elections, will go all the way into national elections come 2028. The showcasing of organizational strength and the vitality of the grassroots, we can combine that because what could be taken from there as well is the shortfall. When I say shortfall, I mean, it wasn't perfect, as I said from the beginning. There are areas in which, from observation, need to be tended to. It need action, a positive action, a rectification, because this is what happened. You test pilot a program and you have observation, you do your assessment, and then you come with a conclusion. And from there, you draw the pros and the cons, the positives and the negatives. You do your correction, you do your homework, you do your due diligence. So if the APC party can learn from this experience, which is tightening its processes, healing internal rifts, which is vast, should not be hidden. People are still hurt from the last elections. What happened, which wasn't the fault of the All People's Congress. It was the fault of the party in power. They didn't conduct a fair process. The will of the Sierra Leonean people was not reflected in whatever diabolical results that was read or issued by the election commissioner at the time, Mr. Kone. And for this, he knows that the country will forever remember him in a negative sense. That conclusion has been reached a long time ago. There is nothing that he can do to clean up the act. Nothing. Should he come and even read the real elections results, still he will not get the forgiveness of the people. No, he wouldn't. So I say if the APC can learn from this experience, if they can tighten the process, open, free, and fair, but the process should be tightened. Tightened in the sense you do your due diligence where you don't learn from what happened from this gone one. Make sure then loopholes them are closed. Make sure that the processes follow to the letter. And try for heal internal rifts. Extend olive branch to those aggrieved parties. Hold a conference. Call everybody, all your people, into a conference, a unity conference if you like. You can find a name for Stylam, but a unity conference for heal the wounds, which is deep. Okay? The APC also need for deepen its democratic culture. Did you hear me? It needs the deepening of its democratic culture. If and when it does all of this, I have no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that it will emerge stronger and more competitive in the years ahead. Remember, just like you see the ticker scroller at the bottom of my screen, it need for offer a fresh perspective to its voters, to its followers. Try for create a situation of confidence so that you attract or lure in not only the members that you already have, but new members. That exercise should be carried out nationwide. And I don't say that it doesn't. The party currently struggle with finances. So, and party-wise, political-wise, finance is very, very important. But there also need for be a mobilization of party members contribute, pay their dues, create activities where you can generate funds, and many more. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is all I have for you today. Like I said, I apologize for come late because, again, technical issues. But rather than cancel the thing, okay, let me bring in on stage. I didn't realize that you were on stage, my brother. I just kept you in the room. I don't know how long you've been there, but welcome. I was almost closing the program, but you must have been listening to what I was saying, talking about the significance of the democratic process in the lower level elections recently held by the All People's Congress. So I'm sure you've got some perspective. Can we hear you out, please? Mr. David, you're to turn up your volume, please. We can hear you, but you're still very low. I'm not sure it's coming from my end because mine is very loud. I've got it on full blast.
So is the sound okay now?
More than okay. Pristine and clear and clean.
Yeah, so you get me loud and clear, right? At the moment.
Very loud and clear. Very loud and clear.
All right, okay. Yeah, to me, I think they recently had APC lower level elections. Now, these are the diagnostic, you know, for a political party. Because the lower level elections now, just like you said earlier, the test for a democratic maturity of a political party. Because political parties not to just vehicles or not to just parties for only contest for power. But like now parties as well where now a place where institutions they able to practice democratic principles. If the APC was able to at least conduct the lower level elections here in a fair manner, a just manner. Of course, in any democracy, they get challenges. I believe the APC is not going to be an exemption to that. But if they're able to carry out the exercises and they follow the rules, follow all the principles, the democratic principle for carrying out the elections and I think that's don't make we the citizens and even other observers go able to make a conclusion as to whether or not the APC party is prepared for national leadership. Mind you, if a political party not able for deal with the lower level elections, not just about the fairness, but even if they get disputes, how they manage them disputes then because they must get internal mechanism for address some of the issues and how they're able to amend or solve them disputes and and so if they follow them principles and I believe say we as citizens of this country, because we are following the lower level elections, because now from the lower level elections, we as citizens as well can able make a conclusion that yes, indeed, this party it gets that democratic maturity where we set as citizens go get the confidence for allow them for take their leadership style to the national level. So yes, it is very, very important. And we know say like the APC as an opposition, and we know how toxic the political field in the country, and they're able to carry out these lower level elections all across the country. I think they did well, and from reports that they see, of course, there are minor issues from one or two or three places where it's just normal, just like any other democracy. It's just normal. But I think it's up to them as an institution, they also need for the transparent, for able to communicate their issues and data to the public as to what will lead to their issues and what will lead to the kind of scam issues and how at least they're not able for life. So they need to communicate. There should also be transparency.
So if I can ask you this on that basis, because it sound to me and probably viewers like you make light of the apparently the irregularities or the skirmishes as you call them. Are you saying that these skirmishes were blown out of proportion, or were they for real and really damaging, or it was just like things to be expected in an elections and it wasn't widespread? What was it?
Of course, the skirmishes are here, or the issues are here in doing a democratic process, not something where we for welcome in any way whatsoever. But again, in any democracy, especially in developing countries, developing democracies, during the processes and there is the expectation that in one or two instances, that's some of them things that ever come up. But it's not just how why they come up, but how they're able to handle their situations in there. And is the party able to learn from that particular situation? Even on the national level as well, there are issues why we get all this issue of the tripartite. So now for now we learn the mistakes and then we say mistakes that don't take place. And follow it. But at least as the most important thing for the fact that we're able to carry out, them processes a day, in a transparent manner. Now we know what will lead to that. Who is responsible for that? So that NACNT will repeat again in future lower level elections.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, but I'm not there for endorse any electoral malpractices, especially lower level elections, because the lower level elections, these are very, very important elections. Anybody where they follow democratic processes, the lower level elections, they determine whether this political party it don't reach that maturity they will consider the governance of the nation. So yes, we know they play me as a person, know they play in skirmishes and the law, even though now kind of rumors or so, but for the fact that the party itself get their own investigative body where they carry out their own internal investigation, I believe say at the end of the day, we, the public, will get the opportunity for listen to their report or read their reports, how and the manner in which these lower level elections was conducted, who side they get challenges, how they be able to address and challenge. So of course, there are questions as well because the party itself, is not prone to scrutiny, and so I believe we as citizens get to also scrutinize them. There are questions we need to ask them, regarding the processes there. So I'm not going to make any conclusion on that until the party itself come out with a report, on the lower level elections.
All right, that's fair enough. So, what do you make of reports on party abandon the traditional way how a ballot paper can look? We will contain the name and photos of candidates. Instead, we say some paper them being contain animal symbols them instead of the traditional name or photo or both of a candidate. What do you make of this?
Yeah, as somebody as well, we got to follow salon politics for several years. When it comes to lower level elections in general, whether it is SLPP or APC, usually the ballot papers not they carry the individual faces. They always go with symbols, different symbols. So to me, unusual. Waiting on the ring or sound a bit alarming to me now how they communicate that procedure there. So far, what we get from open source conversations or intelligence are the fact that some of the candidates that are only aware about the symbol, I think a day or during the very elections day. And I think these are something where candidates and for don't know well in advance. Okay, the party media team gets ways. I listen to some of them like the CDI attorneys, where it mentions logistic and the cost effectiveness have been one of the issues where been lead to that. But again, as I say, then they carry out the investigation. These are things we all get for look into. Of course, as I say, not to something very unusual at all, but
Okay.
the manner in which that communication was asked to the candidates, to me, it sounds suspicious.
Yeah,
You
think
yeah.
do you think that's connected to then allegedly some alleged big one them at the party call for the cancellation of the elections?
Uh, well, calling for the cancellation of these elections, we all get for no say. Conducting a lower level elections costs money, right? That's a huge amount. Uh, the the manpower as well, the training needed, and all the rest of it. Um, I think just like what Sabine said earlier, when a political party conducts elections of this nature, and during or after the processes and they get complaints of irregularities or suspicious things where certain candidates are, not pleased with, it is the party's responsibility now for sit down with them people here, listen to them concern, address them concerns in the internally. If a party able for like deal with the issues in the internally, then we all get a reason for belief that indeed this party able for deal with situations. Because if they can deal with that kind of thing internally and not come out to the public, we believe that if they take the national leadership, then we also able deal with issues of national concern. So I'm not going to endorse the cancellation of the lower level elections because by far looking at the method, the procedures where they all follow, I think they did a good job. They did a good job. But regarding the issue of symbols, I think therefore not able for communicate, give the candidates them information well before the issue of symbol, animal symbols as people they use come up. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I suppose your expectations going forward, in terms of the process, it will be, we understand the internal investigations ongoing, but it would be a good practice. Say the party go on do the due diligence, come the next process. Will that be your expectation, Albert?
For whatever reason, you break a bit.
Oh no, I've been. You they get me now?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now they get it right. Yeah.
Okay, no. What I'm to try for understand is obviously there were irregularities, but on a minor scale, and some of them was to be expected, but some of them were due to party. If I can follow you, line of thought, not communicate certain things well, yeah, to candidates in particular, and that in itself was a problem or help for cause part of the problem, and that's understandable. But there are internal investigations ongoing, and the party obviously is supposed to learn from the mistakes you go call them and try for put the process right. I they say going forward, we will expect better and not a repeat of some of these things. So I've been to ask you about your expectations. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if the APC able to address this issue and sit down together with all the candidates them nationwide, all the ward chairs or whatever positions individuals that apply or aspire for, and then learn from that mistakes there, make records of them things in there. They really expect to see, how do you call it? Uh, Constituency elections, where at least Dango would demonstrate a more better performance in the elections, ahead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe the APC, despite just like you said, with the challenges of them face, but me personally, I'm impressed, the way they're able to carry them out, regardless of the political environment so again in the country. And the, mind you, just few weeks to the elections, and then we'll get the APC Secretary General where they are locked up for a political speech, and all this is a message, I believe he was only released a day or few days to the very lower level elections. And a Secretary General, not the administrative head of a political party. So for make it day into that situation throughout that period, that 1 2 weeks, You know, that period would also be a moment where perhaps they were not able for use for communicate. So the people are also waiting at them plans. But we see them, they get a legal battle to get hold of them, Secretary General at the same time, the issues of elections, they get a whole team where they don't train, where they need for send, dispatch them nationwide. So yes, I know it was challenging for them. And so for me to come out, especially the turnout where we see the turnout of citizens that will come out for like take part in the lower level elections, I think it's a signal that Sierra Leoneans are ready to really step into the polling stations come 2028.
Yeah, I think many people will agree with that sentiment there or view express. Whilst I get you here, and before we close the program, I want to ask you one or two things them outside of this lower level election, which this program is dedicated to, and that would be one. It's regarding the recent Guinean incursion, not because they're already in the country already, don't seize Sierra Leonean land, which is an act of aggression by every definition of international, law. Two things quickly, Albert. How you see this recent action of the Guinean government, whether Soja Man and Kaneka, Keshuyon Soja Man them, or law enforcement officers, because I understand there was a mixture of soldiers and police, basically people around the border area, and take them into custody for reasons best known to themselves, and how you see the government of Sierra Leone approach to this entire issue as to the Guinean government and behavior towards we as an independent country.
Yeah, first, me strongly believes the actions of the Guinean government and the Guinean military violate international law. That's one. It violates international law. From they invade into a sovereign nation and kidnap and soldiers them, men in uniform. But again, I will also have a focus on with internal leadership, with national leadership. I believe that there is a complete negligence, neglect from the leadership. You know, Prince, this situation not start today.
Exactly.
This situation, the Guinea-Sierra Leone border issue, not start today, right? But now the manner in which this thing can excel within the last several years, now in the citizens world. You know, mind you, when I start my younger, this is not a place where you get civilians. You get people and where them born there, them grow up there, get them picking and get them grand picking, and I didn't do them farming, do them inter-border trades for many, many years. Do them fishing and all the rest of it. Okay, and then all of this, I might not forget, then people are voted, they were registered, they took part in elections, they took part in national decision making by voting. Even the 2018 election, they voted, but they were abandoned. The Guineans, they sent team, military medics, they kind of that area, they supply medical equipment, medicines, and other basic things, even tents, mosquito tents. We abandoned those people. Okay, for men and come and move some of the people out. Even I remember there were a good number of people and we moved all the way Kailan or so. What happened? The only thing we government do not for good in our police barracks. We make makeshift tents for them, including the chief of the town of Yemen. Think about this.
Yeah.
And when we raised some of the alarms there, the government was talking about diplomacy. I'm not against diplomacy. But in situations like this, you get for sure say your country is a sovereign country. Why can't you get an engagement with the CDS, the Chief of Army Defense Staff? Get an engagement with the Minister of Interior, the Minister of Defense. Get a security meeting with them. Send a what? Look, if Mother Bill, when this campaign starts, if this man decide for send a team to that region and tell all residents, all citizens that when they live within that area, so we can't evacuate now, bring una come a safer zone. We want for left that place for our arms, for we military personnel. Move those people. Believe in me, friends, if that kind of message come up from a leader, say we evacuate all the citizens in there, take them as safer zone, send in at least 1,000 or 2,000 well-armed men with the logistics at that kind of side. That said, they send a signal to the Guinean side. But during all that process, when this whole thing starts, then they send 4 or 5 soldier men for good day, old AK-47. Would I even know whether I get 10 bullets and they have gone them? Right? And even this very most recent one, where they go capture 16 of them, some were beaten up, molested in uniform. Even the second lieutenant was, wounded and all these things. Begin video them in front of picking them, molest them. This is the biggest humiliation of a serviceman when we don't see in a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly, Albert. And this is what baffles me, to be honest.
And waiting really disturb me again. Where is the leadership? Look about the communication gap. Mind you, the soldier man there, not to holiday, them going there for gospel. They're not going there on vacation. They were there to serve their nation, to secure our borders. They were assigned. They sent them go there with just one truck, a Soviet-era truck. For logistics, some of the soldier men are in boots, then at the foot.
But is this not the issue in itself? That the army morale is low. Look at the dress code and they look at the logistics, nothing or little, so there's no respect at all from the counterparts on the other side.
Yeah, wait, I'm coming. This side border area, border security have to be sophisticated. Not just on the weaponry, even on the intelligence service. We get drones. Train them how to operate drones. We do surveillance and we use drone for the monitor within that border area. But the only thing we will see the government doing is for buy a good number of drones, hand them over to the police, and declare to we say then go use them drones that they have for surveillance. Whose side protesters are together.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, that's where the government is focusing. What a shame. Albert, on the same issue, go on. You want to say something?
Yes. And mind you, when they kidnap them people here, look at the communication gap, how long it take. Nobody, no officials, even till today, the president himself not able to come out to the public.
Exactly.
On this issue.
Exactly.
Right? Because when they arrest them, we don't know who side they take them. Now, only through rumors, except when we get a statement from the Guinean Defense Ministry. We government able to tell we who side them go with them with servicemen here, within at their health condition, we get an embassy in Guinea. They'll be able to carry out or provide them with a consular service. They'll be able to communicate with their families, wives, and children as to the condition of them people here. There with servicemen there. They'll be able to communicate with their families.
None of that, because they were
a complete information gap.
Absolutely, and they were held for that many days. The idea is the whole nation was humiliated, and we get a leadership we not inform the general public as to what is really going on, or for let them see the man they act being like in a leadership capacity, especially a man where He's born out of the military. I mean, he was a former military man. So there should be some connection, to the military. But this is clearly not the case. I want to close the program, but I get one more thing for ask you on this and ask you a further question on another subject with me and you get for discuss later. And this is, I hear you say the government say then they do this thing diplomatically regarding the issue with Guinea Conakry. Are you aware whether the government don't table a motion? Because I think the president is currently the chair of ECOWAS. If you're not chair of the regional body, I mean, you can use your influence for goodness sake for bring this matter to light and make them high profile. Because you are the chair, you are the president of a nation that, you man them or your border is being violated. A sign of aggression and, like you clearly say, a violation of international law. Are you in any shape or form other than the presidency, then they do diplomatic, a channel? They don't do this at this level. It can even call a United Nations Security Council meeting, because as a member, you can do that when you feel, say, your nation don't come under threat or your borders are being breached. Because for prevent war, now the first line and the way they follow diplomacy. What kind of diplomacy?
It's a lip service diplomacy.
Lip service. I like that. Yeah. That's my exact point.
It's all slogans. Because right from this man come into governance, we don't hear the issue of diplomacy. And the more he talks about diplomacy, the more the Guinean advance in their encroachment of Sierra Leone.
Exactly.
Right? And even these incidents will happen about a week or more ago. We don't still make any public statements. But when the United States and Israel attack Iran,
a representative.
We saw the president delivering a message, sending a message of attention seeking.
Yeah, since it be say something, whilst in your own borders are being breached and violated, and you won't even assure a nation who potentially feel very insecure as at this time.
And mind you, Prince, the most shameful thing is this. The only thing, this man, because there was a security breach in kitchen, he can't say, we. So they go thief in rest in kitchen. Right? Yeah, he can't public, it's a way. But when there is a foreign military way invade into we own sovereign territory, beat up our servicemen, kidnap some of them, take them away. So today we know you talk thing.
Yeah, and the next time Guinea go do more than that. Of course, they've been doing things. Yeah.
The former ambassador to Guinea.
I was going to mention that and close this chapter, but yeah, just go ahead because again,
when they arrest them with all a large quantity of narcotics.
Yep.
Within 24 hours, we see who side the head of state, where side President Bio, send a delegation, including the foreign minister Timothy Kaba and the information minister Chernaba, send them to Guinea. And mind you, this time a diplomat. This is somebody where they live a luxurious life in Guinea as an ambassador. He's a diplomat, gets a decent house, a good car, but he gets involved into narcotic trafficking. But we see the swift government response for get hold of this man. These are servicemen within at the front line. Poor logistics, not a good uniform, not a good kits, not a good, military gears and so on and so forth. Not to even tent and buffer in the bill. They sleep with mosquitoes around them. Low morale, and they're not able to do nothing until when some of we begin to write about the issue, they call them up, they wake them up. Before we see a few days ago when the government sent a delegation, headed by the foreign minister to go to Guinea. So these are all issues. Now look at even what happened in Parliament recently. The appointment of Edmond Abu.
So that was going to be my final a question to you or thought will be one for let you express, because obviously me and you get a planned program on this, so we were able to talk about in largely. But you want to express a quick sentiment on that? That's fine, and we can close the program.
Grace. Yeah, I agree with you because it's a broad issue, so like we will really need enough time to talk about that. But me, go just personally want to say this that for me, the appointment of Edmond Sylvester Alpha as the commissioner, Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, it's flawed. It's a constitutional betrayal. And why I say this, you know, the Constitution, it make them, it tell you exactly within its, section 32. Say, section 32, subsection 3, it say the president for consult the heads of all political registered parties in the country, subject to parliamentary approval. This president for consult with the heads of all political parties, registered political parties in the country, subject to parliamentary approval. But you're not going to tell me, look, this is simple. This is what the Constitution said. Or are they telling us that the Constitution has been suspended? Or will they operate on a decree? Because if the Constitution asks you for consult with all heads of political parties, and the only thing we see now from the press secretary to the president come out and say the president don't consult 12 all political parties, and 12 out of 14 endorse the president's appointment of Edmond Alpha. Okay, and each and every political head talk about this letter where they sent to them, where they give them 3 days notice and all the rest of it. But mind you, we are talking, the Constitution asks you to consult. And here you're sending a one-way message, one-way letter. Sending a letter, given in short notice of 3 days. Is that consultation? No engagement, no dialogue.
Yeah, of course, I feel you.
To the views of political parties, the objections.
That's what the Constitution called for.
In constitutional and administrative law, it's not a notification. That those letters sent to those guys or those political heads, those party heads or leaders of political parties, that is not consultation. That is a notification. The president already decide.
Yeah, and this is it.
Prince Kroma, I want to make a bid the electoral commissioner. So I give 3 days from you endorse them or so. Is that how the bill administration interprets our Constitution demand of consultation? No, it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean,
from there, I even see scholars, guys, people from even the ruling government, they defend this. They become so hypocrites. They undermine the integrity of the Constitution. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, this is really interesting and at the same time embarrassing for people and for defend such where you know fully well. I mean, help me for understand it, because it bother me psychology very much. That people understand that the process is wrong. The process is clear as the Constitution states. It's not being followed. And you clearly don't identify one way where the president say it consults. That's not consultation. That was notification. Okay? That in itself is a violation. And people, they know this. But yet still, and they come and defend this and publicly. Why do you think this is the situation? And is there a remedy? Can this be remedied?
Prince, my critic on this thing, and not that anything to do with Edmond Alpha as a person. But my concern is the process, the procedures followed leading to his appointment. The Constitution, not the supreme law, not the supreme law of the land. Now, in the guide we, even the president himself, this is the power where the guide them, not the Constitution. So for make you look at within the Constitution say, that clause, not a declaration, it's not a slogan. It's a command. It's just like in the Bible or in the Quran. That's a command. The Constitution says you have to consult. And we only saw a letter, one-way letter, with a 3 days notice. You not give them political heads or political parties their time for consider, for engage the membership, for talk to them about this. You know, give them time for engage, sit down at a round table, consult with them, listen to their views. Because that's what the Constitution said in section 32, 32, subsection 3. Go downwards. You listen to their views and see whether those views, those objections are objections where you need to consider.
Yeah, that's true, Albert. Yeah, that's very true. But this is not new when it comes to this presidency. I mean, there's a catalog of violation, I don't care attitude about the Constitution, or then get a new interpretation of the Constitution despite the command that the Constitution gives. Then they interpret it differently for suit the your outcome with a kind of desire. Final question on this, Albert. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Me and Albert Gerford do a special show dedicated to this particular subject matter we will talk about, which is the confirmation, the appointment of the new election commissioner, Mr. Edmond Sylvester Alpha. The question here, Albert, final question to you is, do you think that the government will get away with this time? Are there other areas where potentially the opposition can, apart from, of course, they can go for apply pressure, but pressure in which shape or form? We know boycott is one of the things on the table. Other than boycott, waiting else, and even if it's boycott, what kind of effect will that have? Will it compel the president for changing mind and follow the process? What do you think?
Oh, it has a very serious effect. Yeah, it is sending a very bad message to the government, in the eyes of the international community.
But that is if they care. That is if they care, because if they can violate, continuous violation of processes and procedures, there's less bureaucracy in the country. Everything is kind of centered, you're like State House or the Mami, now their policy they come out. So it's not like spread. Yes, it is true, it will send a bad message, but there are many bad messages that have been sent out there about this government. But yet still, then continue for deep dig into the mud, the double down, triple down. So yeah, will they care?
I think if the APC hold on to their ground, they will definitely care.
Okay. Yeah, and this is something good. Albert, forgive me if they definitely hold on, which is true, because if they hold on, the pressure will only mount, and they're not going to for it appear as if it's a one-party state or not them they run, whereas there is supposed to be a kind of democratic process. But the question will be, owing to the political atmosphere now, which we only observe, for quite a significant period of time, will the APC hold its ground? You get some very discredited members within the party itself. We saw it the last time. And where they just want to go get the emoluments and the benefits and whatever then they get. So they can't bear the pain, not understand the bigger picture about the sacrifice being made. You're not only for the now, but the future, and sending a powerful message. Do you think, if they're holding ground or try for holding ground, one or two of them bad elements within them not go try for break that? Will it hold? That's, I think, better question.
Technically, even as a party make a declaration or bring up a notice to the public, say, when they ask the members of parliaments and councils and councillors to withdraw from governance, but technically the APC still have representation in parliament. They have the likes of Mohamed Bangura and then this other guy, is it Johnson or so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically, they still have representation, even though the party suspended for ethical violations within the party. But technically, they still have membership in parliament. Yeah. But the SLPP will need numbers. Mind you, then they try for like amend the constitution. And they need numbers.
Yeah.
They need numbers. Okay, they have the majority. Yes, I know definitely Nadanga forgets again all the support from the paramount chief members of parliament. Definitely, but the number is still not up to, except if they manipulate the system, because there are possibilities to do that constitutionally through the speaker, get the orders of parliament where he will trigger for manipulate that. Whether they get for reach to that level there is yet to be, not to the right and this will talk about that. But yes, I can say this, friends. If the APC hold on to this ground, trust me, it's going to really, really create a governance tsunami for the BU administration. It will create a governance tsunami for the BU administration. We don't see now even the chief minister use very disrespectful languages, don't describe the APC members of parliament as a complete disgrace. The words are going on. We see even other SLPP MPs, they use damning words for demean the APC. But, this is the peaceful protest way that they would demonstrate, especially in a country where if people like the party decide for call, then supporters will go on the street for demonstrate, for the attention of the public or even the international community. Who knows what is going to happen? Right? Expect that people are going to lose their lives. People are going to be wounded. People are going to be sent to jail. So if the APC believes the peaceful way we can able to do for demonstrates a dissatisfaction of this process is by walking out of parliament and they stand on it, councillors, mayors, and all the rest of it, I think it's really, really going to hurt.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Obviously, there are so many things for talk about because things are happening so fast. Yeah, but we promise you we will come to Una and bring Una all of this. I apologize once more again for being late. We guest today now Mr. Albert David, a journalist renowned, a prolific writer, and they ask Una for following writings. Very significant, very informative, very educative, very inspiring. So next time I go ask him for in details, yes, so we can put on down at the screen. So we're go able to know exactly who side for fan in articles them. Okay. Next week, we come up with a couple of programs, me and Mr. David. One of them obviously will be this same thing we will just end on, where now the appointment, wrongfully so, because if you not follow what the Constitution say in terms of consulting political parties, not informing them, not sending them notification, these are two different words, two different meanings in terms of the process, which is what the president did. This is a dictatorship. This is authoritarian. And I don't think it should be tolerated in any shape, sense, or form. It doesn't go along with best practice, democratic practice. And you can't give people any impression that this is what you stand for, where they do quite the opposite. It just doesn't wash. and you're just ruining the name of your country. As we can see, why the Guineans have no respect for us, and President will not put his foot down to speak in behalf of his own soldiers. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Albert, many thanks for the short notice and participating on the program here tonight. And family and friends, please share, please like. The more you share, the more you like, the more the algorithm, they help we for invite big people, for come to the program because they know that the platform is being watched. So thank you so much for now, and goodbye, everyone.